wanted to create just the right environment for 2-year-olds, I would say that you've got to either seek or develop expertise and knowledge of how 2-year-olds are and how they function, how they learn, how they relate to each other and how they develop. And you can't set up successful provision unless you're prepared to commit to that little bit of professional development yourselves as a team or as a teacher, as a leader.
Family who would be eligible for free school meals, or you're a child that's looked after by the local authority, there's an offer from September this year which is 15 hours of free early years education which can be taken in a nursery in some schools and with childminders.
The vision for Kingston has been right from the outset that this is a group of children that we wanted to make the biggest difference for that we possibly could. Every child who's eligible in Kingston will first of all be able to access it in a local provision, but that's of the highest quality. And that's where we started work with the schools as well, because we're fortunate in Kingston to have the most amazing relationship with school, but also really high quality early years practitioners promoting really good practice. And we also wanted a range of opportunities for parents and carers to access their 2-year-old provision in different places, so that it could be in a children's centre, it could be in a preschool or a day nursery, but also as part of the school where they feel confident and the rest of their children are.
We were always very interested in early learning because we're an infant and nursery school, so we've got 104 nursery children and 120 reception age children, so early years is our thing. And we have an attached children's centre. Having 2-year-olds was just a natural progression.
We were motivated really by the fact that we had a children's centre on site. So we've got Tolworth Children's Centre here, and we were familiar with families that came to our centre that had 2-year-olds. And we know that 2-year-olds can be sometimes quite challenging, and we know that it would actually support our families and our community. So we decided that it was a really good idea to investigate having 2-year-olds in our school.
It's quite a big ask for a school to take something else on, and we thought that we have to give them all the support that we possibly can. But I knew that those that took it on would be doing it because they believed in it and not because there was money attached, but we also wanted to do it properly. So we had strategic buy-in from our council too. And it's been a key objective in our children and young people's plan, and it's also a key element of our protection and early help agenda, and it links into our children's social care work and really targeted early intervention for the families that we work with.
We wanted to get to know them as families before they were in the more formal school system, so that we had a really positive relationship we could build on as they moved through the rest of the school.
The school is quite an old-fashioned building, and we've done a lot of work on making it more modern so that it really works for the learning that we want to take place here.
We were very keen to recognise the distinctive nature of that particular window of development and give the 2-year-olds things that 2-year-olds need as opposed to what older children need. So as part of our preparation we identified a space in the school which would be their own base, their own space, and which would be equipped in a way that was appropriate for 2-year-olds.
And we felt that it could be more interesting and work better for our 3 and 4-year-olds. So we redeveloped that and it became open plan. And because we don't have any other building, we just thought, well, actually, 2-year-olds are very much like early 3-year-olds. There's not going to be such a big difference.
We've also taken a lot of advice from the local authority and booked ourselves into local authority training programmes so that we become more knowledgeable, because it's not our area of expertise. And I think acknowledging that it's not our area of expertise is one of the key ways that we'll get ourselves the best provision.
The additional bonus that's really come through is actually the opportunity to enhance the quality of early years across the board in the school that you have, and the training and the awareness raising about young children's learning and development has been really, really key. So they're almost becoming centres of excellence because they focus so much on how young children learn and how to engage families too. And I think at 2 you have to engage the family.
I think the main difference was to help our practitioners who are going to be working with the 2-year-olds, particularly in a mixed age environment, that it's not a watered down approach from 3 and 4 year olds, that actually 2-year-olds are quite unique in the way they work and the way they process ideas, and it's really important that the practitioners who are supporting those children have a real understanding of how 2-year-olds work. So we focus quite a lot on child development and brain development to really get that understanding of why 2-year-olds behave and act as they do, and therefore how to respond appropriately. And in Kingston we coined a phrase of being a close by practitioner, so you know when to step in, you know when to step back. We're giving children time to explore in their own way, but we're very clear on the role of the adult in supporting that learning and taking it forward in a non-intrusive way.
One of the main things that we want to encourage in nursery is speech and language, but also independence. Children being able to make friendships, make positive relationships with other children, have a really good sense of well-being. And the way that we find is the best way to do that is to have a really safe, secure and calm environment where we look at the children's interests, we look at the children's needs, and we plan for them and their next steps of development, whether that may be inside, outside, and we do that through very, very careful observation, linking very much to our planning and also assessment.
And we're taking a more backward step and observing more. We're watching what they're doing more, and we're taking that learning to other year groups in the school. It's been a transformation really in working with early years, that it can teach you so much about little children's learning, and these are lessons that can be applied to any age group.
We also want our children, our 2-year-old children, to have some contact with older children as well, so they can use them as good models, particularly for physical development and for language development, and so they can watch older children learning in more sophisticated ways and want to do that themselves.
We quite liked the model of having sort of older role models, and actually when you go into our nursery they don't notice which are the 2-year-olds and which are the 3-year-olds. They actually play really well together. So for staffing it's given that team approach as well, so that everybody's supporting each other in there, and we're all sort of taking responsibility of the 2-year-olds and the 3-year-olds.
We think that having 2-year-olds has helped us to look at children's learning in a deeper way, because we've had training for all of the staff on inducting 2-year-olds, because whether they're the identified people who work directly with them or whether they're the other staff in the nursery, they're all very interested and they will interact with those children. And in doing the training, we've been looking at schemas, we've been looking at the care and welfare in a much more meaningful way, and we think that's impacting on the whole of our nursery provision, and we think it's also now working its way up into reception a little bit as well. So we think that it's changing the way we look at children's learning.
And we've tried really hard to involve families in understanding the benefits of high quality early years on their child's development, to understand the critical role they play as their child's first educator in what they can do at home, how to improve the home learning environment.
We supported them by talking to them regularly, communicating with them, but also communicating with them with language that they knew.
The project for 2-year-olds is very much about giving younger children an opportunity in education that they might not have had otherwise, and about closing the gap. And some of that gap is to do with home circumstances or to do with lack of opportunities. And so one of the things that we've started off with is actually just making a really good relationship with parents. That's where it has to begin, because to start asking parents to do things that they find quite alien would just put them off.
It's actually very much about working with the parents and the children together and having that positive experience that a school is a positive place to be.
We know, and the schools that are brought into it, that early intervention in high quality environments with really good practitioners has lasting impact on children's achievement. I mean, the EPI project's still going on, but the impact of that is really significant, and we've got a plan to really track the progress of these children and their families as they move through our schools, which you can do in a school because you've got the continuity too.
The absolute best thing is now that we can offer, as we have before, we've got a children's centre on site, so that's been 0 to 5, that's had a day nursery there as well, but that we have this wholly joined up provision that's providing for families who do need it and they do want it, they've asked for it, for families who have children from 0 to 11, and that we're now developing a seamless provision that provides for all that. It not only is supporting the children's development, I think it's supporting the parents' development in helping them be good parents and helping them develop their children's learning as well. That whole community thing is absolutely the prime thing.
Some of the practitioners have said to me it's been the best thing that they've done for many years, and that it's really enhanced their own knowledge, professional understanding of young children and how they learn. And that will only enhance what they do with their 3 and 4 year olds too. For the children to see them settled and confident and happy so quickly within that learning environment has been amazing. The feedback I get from the team is that it's been amazing in the first term, that the children and their families are already so settled and engaged, and actually that transition and that induction will be there for next September. They're going to, they will enjoy a really, a seamless transition through to reception, which is brilliant.
If I was to give advice to schools who were yet to start on this journey, I would say it sounds more daunting than it really is. We were expecting it to be more difficult, and actually it hasn't been that difficult.
I think like any good educational provision, there's always a thread of action research. There's got to be a little bit of risk taking, there's got to be some intuitive leaps. I can't see what you can lose. You have to sort of take the plunge, get in there, have a try at it. It's bound to be to the advantage of those children, because they're getting a very favourable ratio of adults. They're getting the sort of excitement of a team that's involved in action research. So you're going to spend a lot of time looking closely at them. I would say to start small, measure carefully, talk to everybody who's involved, and then as your confidence grows and you start to see the advantages coming through your school, then you can expand the project and be a little bit more ambitious in terms of numbers. And if you really value it, and if you value it financially and in terms of expertise and in terms of space, then it will succeed.